You don't forget the first time you breathe in the stink of rotgut whiskey, spilled beer, and blood that didn't quite wash off the concrete. It clings to your skin, to your nerves. Like the weight of the wire taped under my shirt, it reminds me what I am and what I'm pretending to be. I was 3 days deep into my undercover assignment, operating under the alias Vin, a small-time arms dealer from Nevada with just enough edge to pass. The real Vin? He'd been arrested a week prior. The name and reputation were mine now, but every time someone said it, I flinched like it didn't belong. The bar was called Red Jack's, though the sign was burned out, and no one ever called it that inside. It was the kind of place where light barely existed. Pool tables with warped legs, a jukebox that only played Merle Haggard, and a haze of cigarette smoke so thick it felt like walking through soup. The gang I was here to take down, the Torrance crew, used it as a meet-up spot, neutral territory, so they said. But nothing about that room ever felt neutral. There were no greetings when I walked in, just stares. Men hunched over glasses, glancing up with suspicion. Someone muttered something under their breath and spat into a cup. Another wiped a knife on his sleeve as if for show. I kept my stride even, calm. Cops walk like they're waiting to be obeyed. Criminals slink. I had to be somewhere in between, just a man trying to stay alive. I sat at the bar and ordered whiskey. Neat. The bartender didn't smile, didn't ask for ID, just slid the glass toward me and moved on. Behind me, I could feel the room shifting, conversations lowering, eyes calculating. I kept my hands still, my mouth shut, my ears open. That's when I saw him, leaning against the far wall near the back door, like he had a private exit planned. One boot propped up, hands in his pockets, and a beer dangling from 2 fingers. He didn't look like the others. Clean shirt, pressed jeans, a silver chain glinting under the flickering light. But it was his face that stopped me. Sharp jawline, full lips, hair falling just slightly into his eyes like it belonged there. And those eyes, icy blue, locked onto mine. Not the lazy glance of a man clocking a new stranger. No, this was surgical, like he was peeling me apart one thought at a time. I looked away first. Damn, rookie move. I tried to reset, turning to the bartender again, but I could still feel him watching me. It made my skin prickle, not with fear exactly. More like something hot and electric and uninvited. That kind of gaze didn't belong in a room like this. And yet, it burned into me more than any of the threats I'd felt so far. He moved. I caught the motion in the mirror behind the bar, his figure weaving through the crowd without effort, like he'd done this dance before. He walked like someone who didn't need to prove anything. Didn't flinch when a drunk at the next table threw a bottle. Didn't blink when the gang's enforcer, Tank, pushed past him with a shoulder bump hard enough to shatter most ribs. He slid onto the stool next to me. Vin, right? His voice was smooth, casual, but there was something behind it like a wire pulled tight. I nodded. That's me. You? A slow smile. They call me Ash. Of course they did. It fit, the kind of name that burned but left no proof behind. What brings you out here tonight? He asked, tapping his fingers against his beer bottle. He didn't look at me directly now, just side-eyed, like he was testing whether I'd twitch under pressure. Trying to stay alive, I said, sipping the whiskey. Same as everyone. He let that hang for a beat. Then he smiled again, not polite, not amused. Interested. I heard you're looking to do business. Word had spread faster than I'd hoped. I nodded carefully. I deal in quality. But I don't hand samples to just anyone. Ash's eyes flicked up, locking on mine again. Good. Because around here, handing the wrong thing to the wrong person can get you very dead. I swallowed hard, not the whiskey. The tension. He was warning me, or threatening me, or flirting. Maybe all 3. There was a sudden crash in the back. A table overturned, shouting. Everyone in the bar tensed. Guns weren't drawn, but hands twitched toward belts. I instinctively moved to stand, to intervene, to act. But a firm hand landed on my thigh. Not aggressive, just enough to keep me in place. Ash didn't look at me when he said, "Don't. It's not your fight." His hand lingered for a second too long. Then he pulled it back and sipped his beer. couldn't breathe right. My instincts screamed cop. My heart whispered something else. I watched him walk away 15 minutes later, slipping through the back door like smoke. No one stopped him. No one followed. When I got back to the safe house that night, I replayed every word, every look. My handler had asked for names, weapons, intel. Instead, I found myself asking, who the hell is Ash? And why do I want to see him again more than I want this case to end? By the next night, I was in deeper than I liked, and I hadn't even sold a bullet yet. Ash was already at the table when I arrived. Same corner booth at Red Jack's, half in shadow, half in flickering neon. A single playing card flipped back and forth between his fingers, not fidgeting, just playing. Like this whole place was his game and he already knew the outcome. "Vin," he said without looking up. "You're late. Didn't know we had a date," I muttered, sliding into the booth. His eyes flicked up, that same cutting stare from the night before. Cool blue, but sharp enough to slice. "We don't. Yet." I didn't smile. Neither did he. But the air shifted, charged like static before a storm. Tank slid into the seat across from us with a heavy thud. The enforcer always stank of motor oil and stale cigars. "Boss wants proof you're not wasting our time," he grunted. "One piece. Tonight." They were testing me. I opened the small duffel bag at my feet, pulled out a matte black handgun, and slid it across the table slowly. Custom barrel, unregistered, clean as they come. It should have passed any sniff test, unless someone already knew it was part of a police sting. Tank picked it up, examining it like a caveman discovering fire. "How do we know it ain't a setup?" Before I could speak, Ash leaned in slightly, resting one elbow on the table. "Because if it was," he said lazily, "our boy Vin here would have brought something flashier. He's either real or he's a damn good actor." He turned his head just enough for his breath to brush against my neck as he added low and slow, "But I'm still watching you." I kept my jaw tight, didn't react, couldn't. He leaned back, took a swig of his beer, and raised an eyebrow at me like it was my move next. I didn't trust him, not for a second, and yet I felt my chest tighten in a way I hadn't planned for. He's too clean, too calm, too smart. I glanced at his hands. Clean nails, no grease, no scars. The chain around his neck wasn't cheap, and his boots were worn but polished. He didn't belong in this pit of bottom feeders. What the hell is he doing here? Tank grunted his approval at the weapon and stood, satisfied. "You'll get word if the boss wants more. Don't be late next time." When he left, it was just me and Ash, the silence pressing down like heat. He didn't speak, just watched me, like he was letting me hang myself with my own silence. "So," I said finally, "you always speak for the boss? Or just when you're bored?" "I don't speak for anyone," he replied. "But I know a setup when I see one. And I know you didn't flinch when Tank threatened to gut you." "That's interesting." I shrugged. "I don't flinch for small men with big knives." Ash gave a small laugh, quiet, almost involuntary. "You're cocky. You're observant." Another beat. Then he leaned forward, lowering his voice until it barely brushed the space between us. "Next time you slide that bag open, don't flash the zip code tag. Someone will clock that." My blood went cold. "What?" "Back corner of the duffel," he said, still whispering. "Says property of LA evidence room. Faded, but it's there. Thought you should know. Friendly advice." He sat back like he hadn't just dropped a grenade in my lap. I stared at him, throat dry. Either he was the most helpful criminal I'd ever met, or he wasn't a criminal at all. "I appreciate the tip," I said slowly. "You should." He stood, stretching slightly, shirt lifting just high enough to reveal a glimpse of lean muscle under the hem. "Some of these guys wouldn't be so nice." He started to walk away, then stopped and turned back, stepping closer, way too close. "I'm not saying I trust you, Vin," he murmured, brushing his fingers along my forearm as he leaned in again. "But I trust my instincts, and right now, they're telling me you're more interesting alive than dead." Then he was gone, just like that, left behind the scent of cedar and gunpowder and something sharper, danger, maybe, or desire. I sat there, heart hammering in my chest, trying to catch my breath. This is bad. This is really bad. Because part of me, the part that hadn't felt anything real in months, didn't want to run. Didn't want to report him. It wanted to know why Ash was watching me so closely, and why the hell it felt so good when he did. The order came down the next day. Not a request. Not a suggestion. Command. Vin rides with Ash, Tank grunted, tossing a set of keys onto the table like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Take the delivery to Blythe Creek. And don't screw it up. He didn't wait for confirmation. Just walked off like the decision had been made long before I walked in. Ash looked up from the edge of the pool table where he'd been lining up a shot. He didn't look surprised. Or thrilled. Just amused. I guess we're partners now, he said, chalking the cue lazily. Try not to bore me. I smirked. Try not to shoot me. His eyes met mine. No promises. We left Red Jack's in a rusted black pickup, its back seat stacked with sealed crates marked machine parts. The moment I closed the passenger door, the cab filled with the sound of classic rock and motor oil and quiet tension. We drove in silence for the first 10 miles, dust and gravel spitting under the tires as the desert blurred past. Ash kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on the window edge. He drove like he walked, calm, in control, never in a rush. I studied his profile while pretending not to. Strong nose, long lashes, the kind of face that belonged in a better place than this. And yet, he moved through this world like he'd been born to it. Like violence was just another card in his hand. What's in the crates? I asked finally, more to hear his voice than anything else. Guns, he said, casual as breathing. Or kitchen appliances. Depends who's buying. You always this vague? He glanced over at me. Only when I don't know who I'm sitting next to. That shut me up. The deal was set in a ghost town bar off a highway that didn't exist on most maps. The kind of place with boarded-up windows, sun-bleached bones out front, and a parking lot full of men who didn't smile. Ash parked and killed the engine. For a moment we just sat there. The heat outside pressed in through the windows. The silence between us thicker than ever. Follow my lead, he said finally. I nodded. Inside, the bar smelled like sweat, rust, and gunpowder. For men waited in a booth, buyers, not friends. One had a shotgun resting across his knees. Another smiled too much. The one in the middle didn't smile at all. We made the drop fast, no jokes, no names, no handshakes. Just cold looks and colder cash. But something shifted. One of the buyers leaned in too close. Tension climbed like mercury. You look familiar, the man said to me, voice slow and greasy. You ever do time in Tucson? My pulse spiked. The cover wouldn't hold under too much scrutiny. I opened my mouth, but Ash stepped forward, fast. He doesn't talk about Tucson, he said sharply. His voice dropped an octave. Dangerous. You want the deal or not? The man raised his hands, laughing it off. All right. No need to get twitchy. We got out of there without gunfire, but just barely. Outside, as we loaded back into the truck, I caught my breath. You didn't have to jump in like that, I muttered. He shrugged, tossing the bag of cash onto the seat. You froze. Covered. That's how partnerships work. On the way back, we ran into trouble. Not gang trouble, highway trouble. A second car had followed us for half a mile before swerving onto the shoulder. I reached under my seat for the emergency piece just as shots cracked through the air, shattering the passenger side mirror. Ash didn't flinch. He yanked the wheel, the truck spinning sideways in a burst of dust and gravel. We jumped out in perfect sync, guns drawn, bodies low behind the truck's rusted frame. I turned to check the rear, and just as I moved, Ash shoved me hard against the tire wall. A bullet whizzed where my head had been a second ago. Jesus, I breathed. He didn't look at me, just muttered, You're welcome, before peeking over the hood to return fire. We drove them off in under 5 minutes, 2 tires shot, 1 truck limping into the horizon. No one dead, no cops, but the message was clear. Someone didn't want that delivery made. Back in the cab, my heart still pounded. My arm brushed against Ash's as we buckled up, and I didn't move away. I should have. But I didn't. He didn't either. The rest of the drive was silent, but not the same kind of silence as before. This was heavier, tighter, like something had shifted in the space between us. I found myself watching him again, stealing glances when I thought he wasn't looking. The way his jaw clenched just before a turn. The way his fingers tapped the steering wheel in rhythm, not nerves but calculation. There was strength in him, but something soft underneath it. Something he worked hard to hide. I wondered if he saw the same in me. At one point, we both reached for the glove box, a spare clip. Our fingers touched. Brief, accidental, but enough. I looked at him. He looked at me. Neither of us said a word. The road stretched on, but the truck felt smaller now. Tighter. Warmer. By the time we pulled back into the lot behind Red Jack's, the sun was low and orange over the hills. Ash turned off the engine, but neither of us moved. He broke the silence first. You handled yourself today. Likewise. Another pause. I still don't trust you, he added quietly. Good, I said, staring out the windshield. I don't trust me either. He laughed once, low and soft, and got out of the truck. I stayed there a moment longer, alone with the tension still vibrating under my skin. Every glance feels like a confession. And God help me, I wanted to hear what he wasn't saying. The warehouse was quiet. Too quiet. No creaking pipes. No rats. Just the hum of the floodlight over the dock and the occasional ping of metal cooling in the night air. We'd been posted there after the last job. For security, they said. Truth was, I think they wanted to see how we worked under pressure when no one was shooting. Just two guys and a long night with nothing but time. Ash sat on an overturned crate, boots crossed, a bottle of cheap bourbon in his hand. I leaned against the wall, arms folded, trying not to watch him too closely in the low amber glow. How'd you end up here? I asked finally, nodding at the gang tattoo barely visible above his collar. He didn't answer right away, just took a long pull from the bottle and stared at the closed bay doors like they held the answer. Same way anyone does, he said. Got tired of being invisible. I waited. He didn't offer more, but the edge in his voice said plenty. You don't look invisible to me, I muttered. He smirked, passing the bottle over without looking. Our fingers brushed. It was the second time that day, and it still made my chest tighten. Yeah, he said, but that's the trick, isn't it? Everyone sees what they're supposed to. Nobody sees what you don't let slip. I took a sip. The bourbon burned, but not as much as his words did. You ever think about just walking away? I asked. He laughed, bitter, quiet. All the time. The silence stretched, long and heavy. Then he said, barely above a whisper, but where would I go? I've been pretending so long I'm not sure there's anything real left. That hit harder than I expected. I looked at him, really looked. His posture, relaxed but guarded. His eyes, distant but alert. He wasn't just playing the part of someone dangerous. He was playing the part of someone whole. And the cracks were starting to show. I should have left it there. I should have shut up. But the bourbon loosened something in me. I get it, I said. He turned toward me slightly. Get what? I took a breath. My throat felt too tight. The pretending. The exhaustion. You wear the face they expect. You talk the way they want. And every day you hope no one looks too close and sees what's underneath. Ash didn't speak. But he was watching me now all the way. No more side eyes. No more half smiles. Just silence, sharp and raw. The air shifted. Slower. Closer. You got someone? He asked softly. Not anymore. He nodded. Didn't ask why. I used to, he said. But he couldn't take this life. Said I was too far gone. You think he was right? Ash shrugged. I think I wanted him to be wrong. Something about the way he said it made my chest ache. We sat there like that for a long time. No questions. No lies. Just presence. And something else, simmering beneath the quiet. Eventually, I slid down the wall and sat next to him, shoulder to shoulder. It was too close. It wasn't close enough. He handed me the bottle again. I took it, sipped, and passed it back. Our hands lingered, not by accident this time. He turned his face toward mine. There was nothing casual about it now. I don't trust easy, he said. I don't expect you to. But I don't feel alone when you're around. And that's rare. I wanted to say something clever. Wanted to deflect. But all I could do was look at his mouth. The way it moved when he spoke. The way it paused now, just slightly open, like he was waiting. He leaned in, slow. Barely a breath of space between us. The kind of moment that feels like it stretches across years. The air smelled like bourbon and heat and desert dust. My heart was a fist in my chest. I didn't move. Couldn't. Then, BZZZT. BZZZT. His phone buzzed on the crate beside us. Ash pulled back immediately, jaw clenched, breath shallow. The spell broke, scattering between us like shattered glass. He grabbed the phone, checked it. Just a location drop from Tank. Some late-night order. Nothing urgent. Nothing that needed to end what had almost happened. But it had. He stood, brushing off his jeans. "We should finish the patrol," he said quietly. I nodded, but I didn't get up right away. Because my legs were trembling. Because the air still felt thick with what we didn't say. Because I was falling, and I wasn't ready for where it would land. As he walked away, I looked down at the spot where he'd been sitting. I wanted it. God help me, I wanted him. More than I should. More than I could afford. And maybe, more than I could hide much longer. The job was simple. Too simple. Guard a stash house on the outskirts of the city. One of Torrance's off-books properties used to move cash and weapons across state lines. Tank said it was a quiet night. No buyers, no deliveries. Just eyes on the place until morning. So of course it went to hell. Ash and I had been stationed on the second floor, near a broken window with a line of sight on the front gate. We didn't talk much. After the almost kiss in the warehouse, everything between us had changed, quieter, heavier. Each glance felt loaded. Each word, measured. I don't know who heard the truck first, him or me. But the moment those tires crunched too slow on the gravel, we were both up and moving. The headlights cut through the dark, sweeping the driveway. Too fast, too quiet. And then the first shot rang out. Glass exploded behind my head, and I hit the floor hard. "Incoming!" I shouted, scrambling behind a steel crate as Ash dove beside me. "Inside job," he hissed, checking his weapon. No way outsiders find this place without a tip. That thought hit harder than the bullet that grazed my shoulder. Somebody sold us out. The front door blew inward with a crack of wood and smoke. Two figures stormed in, masked, guns up. I returned fire from the top stair, hitting one in the leg. He went down screaming. The second one turned toward me. Ash shoved me sideways just in time, taking the stairs two at a time and unloading two perfect shots into the intruder's chest. Then he turned and yelled, "Back room! Go!" We moved as one, ducking through the maze of crates and busted furniture. More gunfire erupted downstairs. Someone, maybe three someones, had joined the breach. We made it to the rear hallway, but it ended at a boarded-up fire escape. Trapped. "We're not gonna make it out that way," I gasped, blood soaking through the sleeve of my hoodie. Ash looked at me, not at the wound, at me, eyes wide, breathing fast, not scared, furious. "Why didn't you tell me they'd hit us tonight?" he snapped. "What the hell are you talking about?" He stepped closer. "Don't play dumb, Vin. You show up 2 weeks ago. Act like you know everything, and now this happens. You think I set you up?" I shouted. "I think you're hiding something," he growled. We stared at each other, guns still in hand, backs against the wall. Blood, smoke, sirens in the distance. And still, the thing between us crackled, hotter than the gunfire, wilder than the fear. "Look at you," I spat. "You think you're so careful, so cold. But you don't even know what side you're on." Ash shoved me. Not hard, but enough. Better than playing both. I shoved him back. "I've saved your life twice. And I've saved yours 3 times. We were panting, shoulders rising, hearts slamming against ribs. Rage, confusion, heat, all boiling over. "You don't get to question my loyalty," I said, voice shaking. You don't know anything about me. I know enough, he whispered, stepping closer. I know you breathe like a liar. I know you sleep with your hand under your pillow. I know you clench your jaw every time someone gets too close. I froze. And I know, he added even softer now, that whatever this is, this thing between us, you feel it too. His face was inches from mine. I didn't move. Couldn't. Don't, I said weakly. Not now. But it was already happening. His mouth crashed into mine. Not soft, not sweet. It was desperate, bruised, full of fury and fear and something that had been burning for weeks. I kissed him back like I'd lost control, because I had. My hand found his jaw, his neck, the back of his head. He pushed me against the wall, biting back a groan as our bodies collided, every inch screaming with tension finally unleashed. This wasn't gentle. This wasn't romantic. It was raw. It was real. And I didn't care that the walls were shaking or that we were still in danger. All I cared about was him. When we finally pulled apart, both of us gasping, eyes locked, I saw something in him I hadn't seen before. Fear. Not of death. Of me. You gonna tell me the truth now? He asked hoarsely. And that's when it hit me. He's not just a part of this gang. He's watching it from the inside. Just like me. Maybe he hadn't figured me out fully yet. Maybe he wasn't sure. But that kiss? That wasn't just release, it was confirmation. My voice shook as I replied, Not here. Not yet. He nodded. Just once. We didn't speak again until we got outside, bodies behind us, silence settling in like dust. I held on to the words I couldn't say. I should hate him. I should fear him. Instead, I wanted him more than my next breath. It happened in the worst way. No warnings. No slow build. No moment to prepare. 1 minute, Ash and I were back at Red Jack's, sitting across from Torrance himself in the back room, our blood barely dry from the shootout the night before. We'd been pulled in for questions. That usually meant fists or worse, but Ash had handled it. Smooth, confident, throwing in just the right amount of pissed off and loyal to calm the boss down. I stayed quiet, played backup, let my bruises do the talking. Then Tank walked in. He wasn't carrying a drink. He wasn't carrying a gun. He was carrying my bag. The one from the warehouse. The one with my gear. The one I'd stupidly tossed under a table and forgotten to secure after the chaos. And when he dumped it out on the table between us, and my badge hit the wood with a sickening clink, the world stopped. Ash's face didn't change. Not at first. But his eyes did. They darkened. Hardened. Torrance lunged to his feet. You lying piece of... Gunfire. Screams. I barely ducked in time as bullets tore through the walls. Someone returned fire from the hallway. One of the guards dropped before he could reach his weapon. I was on the ground, grabbing my pistol, heart slamming like a jackhammer. But I wasn't looking at the chaos. I was looking at him. Ash hadn't moved. Not until I shouted, Ash, move! That's when I saw it. His jacket had fallen open in the scuffle. And clipped inside, low, nearly hidden under his belt. Another badge. For a second, I couldn't breathe. He was one of us. All along. And he hadn't told me. You lied to me. The words hit harder than any bullet. He looked at me across the smoke, chest rising fast, eyes locked. I don't know if he'd seen my badge first. If he'd known. If this whole thing, the banter, the touch, the kiss, had been a test. But I knew what I saw now. And I hated him for it. And I loved him for it. And I didn't know what to do with either. The room exploded again. One of Torrance's men with a shotgun. I lunged forward, fired 2 shots to his chest. He fell like a sack of bricks. Ash was already moving, flipping the table, dragging me behind it. He checked my shoulder, grazed again and didn't say a word, just clenched his jaw and handed me a second clip. We end this now, he growled. Together. I nodded. We fought like we'd always been a team. Seamless. Wordless. He covered my right while I cleared the hallway. I yanked down a fire alarm, triggering chaos throughout the building. He shouted coordinates into a hidden mic I hadn't seen before. Units move in, north entry. Suspects armed. Multiple down. The backup was coming. I could feel it in the air. And somehow we were still standing. By the time the front doors burst open and the real uniforms flooded in, Ash and I had taken down 5 men between us. Torrance had vanished in the smoke, but Tank was handcuffed, bleeding, screaming about betrayal. We were shoved against the wall with everyone else, hands behind our heads. Protocol. No exceptions. My badge was yanked out by a wide-eyed sergeant who looked like he might throw up. "Detective Reyes," I barked. "Undercover. Asset name, Vin. Clearance 9. Ash said nothing, just pulled out his own credentials and handed them over like they weighed a ton. The officers dragged the suspects out in waves. Screams, coughing, blood on the floor, dust in the air, and then it was just the 2 of us again, standing in the middle of the ruin we'd both helped cause. No more secrets, no more pretending, only silence. Ash looked at me, really looked. His face was hard, unreadable, but his voice was soft when he finally said, "You were good, better than I expected." I clenched my fists. "So that was all this was to you? A report?" He flinched. "No. I kissed you," I said. "I bled for you. I kissed you back. You lied to me. So did you." I turned away, couldn't look at him, couldn't stand the pain radiating through my chest. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. "Because I didn't know if I could trust you," he said behind me. And by the time I did, it was too late. He stepped closer, slowly, like he was approaching a wounded animal. I didn't move. "You saved me," I said, voice raw. "Even when you didn't have to." "So did you." I turned then, slowly. We were both wrecked, bloody, bruised, burned out. But there was something else behind his eyes now. No masks, no covers, just him. "I don't know what this is," he said, "but it's not fake. Not to me." I nodded. It wasn't enough, but it was honest. The sirens screamed outside. Voices called for debriefs. Ambulances lined up. "I guess this is where we part," I said. He nodded once. "For now." He reached out, brushed his fingers over mine. Touch just long enough to remember. Then he walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't have to. Later, when I sat in the back of the cruiser, uniform returned, face clean but heart still torn wide open, I stared down at the file they handed me. Agent Ash Jensen. Deep cover. 6 years. Mission terminated. I ran my fingers over the page, but it wasn't the mission I was thinking about. It was the night we shared secrets in the dark. It was the kiss we didn't plan. It was the man who never broke his cover, not even when I broke mine. I thought I lost him the moment I saw the badge, but I realized I'd already given him my heart. A month passed, then another. The adrenaline faded faster than I expected. The bruises healed. The mission wrapped. Commendations came in manila folders I didn't open. The Torrance crew was gone. Scattered, locked up, or buried. Every lead I'd spent 2 years chasing was closed. And yet I felt empty. Normal life was supposed to be a relief. I'd earned it. I'd survived it. But when I walked through my front door at night, it didn't feel like mine. I traded in my alias for my real name, but even that felt strange in my mouth. I went back to the station, took statements, reviewed cases, drank bad coffee, laughed at jokes I didn't hear, and every time I caught a glimpse of my reflection, in a window, in a spoon, in a rearview mirror, I didn't see Detective Reyes. I saw the man who'd kissed someone in the dark with blood on his hands and truth caught in his throat. I didn't know where Ash was. His file was sealed, transferred, moved to another department, another name, another life. That's what deep cover does. It buries you twice, once going in and again when you come back. I stopped asking about him after week 2. Didn't mean I stopped thinking about him. It was late when the knock came. A Friday. Rain against the windows. A cheap thriller on the TV I wasn't really watching. 3 knocks. Not hurried. Not soft. Just there. I opened the door, heart already racing. And there he stood. No disguise. No tension in his shoulders. No gang clothes. Just Ash. Plain t-shirt. Jeans. A little more stubble. a little less armor. I stared at him, hand still on the doorknob. "You gonna let me in?" he asked, voice low. "I don't know," I said honestly. He smirked. "That's fair." Still, I stepped aside. He walked in slow, like he wasn't sure the floor would hold. Or maybe he was just unsure of me, same as I was of him. I shut the door, locked it, turned to find him already watching me. "You look good," he said. "You look different," I replied. "I feel different." We stood in the living room, not touching, not smiling, just breathing the same air again. "I didn't know if I'd see you again," I said quietly. He nodded. "I wasn't sure if I should come. But you did." "I had to." He took a breath, then let the words fall one at a time. "I lied to you." "So did I." "I was scared." "So was I." He stepped closer, just enough to feel it again, that gravity between us. Still there, still real. "I thought about you every damn day," he said. "Even when I tried not to." I swallowed hard. "Why now?" "Because I don't want it to be over." I stared at him, at the man who'd held a gun to my side and kissed me like I was the only real thing left in the world. "Were any of the things you said to me true?" I asked. "All of them," he said. "Except my name." I laughed once, quietly. "That makes two of us." He smiled, soft this time, real. "I'm not asking for answers tonight," he said. "I don't even know what this is. I just know I didn't fake any of it. Not with you." "Even the kiss?" He stepped closer. "Especially the kiss." We stood inches apart again. This time I didn't move away. "I missed you," I whispered. "You have no idea," he said. And then he kissed me. Not rushed, not desperate, just honest. No cover stories, no fear, no violence humming in the background. Just him, just me, just us. Later, we sat on the couch, legs tangled, his head resting against my shoulder. We didn't need much light. The city glowed outside. It was enough. "So what now?" I asked. Ash, or whatever his real name was, though I hadn't asked yet, leaned back to look at me. "I've got 6 weeks of mandatory leave. Then maybe reassignment. Maybe desk duty. Depends on how my file reads this time." "Still a ghost, huh?" He nodded. "Yeah, but a tired one." I hesitated. "I'm not sure what I can offer. I'm still figuring out who I am after all this." He reached over, took my hand. "Same here. We're a mess." "Yeah," he said with a soft laugh. "But we clean up nice." I smiled. For the first time in weeks, it didn't feel forced. We didn't talk about the past again that night. We didn't talk about the future too far ahead either. But we made space for something new. Slow. Uneasy. Real. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of water running in the kitchen. His boots were by the door. My hoodie was draped over his chair. The apartment felt warmer somehow. Not fuller. Just less empty. I stood at the threshold, watching him stir sugar into 2 mugs like he'd done it 1,000 times. Like he belonged there. He looked up, saw me, and smiled that smile, the one that had first made me doubt everything, then made me believe again. "Hope you like it black," he said. I walked forward, took the mug, and nodded. "This ain't where I thought I'd end up," I said quietly. "But it's where you are." I nodded again. He leaned against the counter, sipping his own cup. And that's when I knew. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. I went undercover to catch criminals. Instead, I found the one man I can't hide from anymore. Have you ever fallen for someone when you least expected it? Someone who saw past your mask and into who you really are? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how love found you in unexpected places. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another story that speaks to the heart. Because here, every secret has a heartbeat, and every heartbeat tells a story.